I play Aaron Cloudspark, and welcome to Heroes of Aeowe.
Along cliff edge in the Siri Gulch, with a cave which has a hole busted in the side of it, the travelers who we've been following for the last few weeks find themselves with a tense moment between them and their party members. Koi Kastava, Prince of the Kingdom of Maru, walks from across the room where he put down this book, and he stares, pacing back and forth, at Talon, who has been cooking. And he looks at him, his eyes with an angry fire behind them. There is tension in the air, so thick that somebody could literally cut it with a pair of scissors. It would rebound onto them and hit them in the face. You all stare intently at him, and he doesn't say a word. He just looks at you. Oh, after his statement from last week's session. You killed my sister. Dark night cascades its fingers down the cliffs of the Siri Gulch. Looking up through the hole made by the Aeowe said at the beginning and towards the middle of the day, a great host of lights dance within confines of the sky, raining down solar interference from the nearby star. You see this basically what looks like glitter being dumped on the heavens. Thousands of tiny twinkle lights in the expanse at night. For if you do not know, Aeowe has only 2 seasons, winter and summer. And it is the approach of winter as you folks make your weary way to your sleep. And you fall into a deep sleep. Do you dream? And if so, what do you dream about in your basically your bedrolls, like your sleeping bags?
Well, I'm not quite sure what Howie would dream. But when she wakes up, she won't remember it anyways.
The question is,
Aaron doesn't really sleep, he transes, so...
well, Aaron, in the middle of the night, you hear a cry, something to the effect of a low, mournful seagull. In the distance. Odd, because you are not near the ocean. It's been a 4-day trek to get to this place. But you hear a gull wheeling and whirling. Or it could be a falcon. Either way, a bird is up in the middle of the night, wheeling and calling.
This bird needs to shut up! Some of us are trying to sleep trance over here.
Are you leaning up against the wall, or do you actually lay down when you do it?
He sits cross-legged, kind of like meditation type thing.
Well, the bird outside wheels in, a burst of wings coming with the wind of morning. pink sunlight starts to pull its little tiny edges of its fingers across the horizon with little baby steps. And finally, as if a 1-year-old or 2-year-old is trying to climb up a piece of furniture, it hauls its way over the top. And it's like, I did it! And a burst of bright pink sunlight cascades upon the land, bathing the world in a new day. The cry of the bird grows louder. It has been going all night. Koi Kistava walks briskly past you as he, with his long blue cloak, strides out with his captain. Captain, he says, I think that we've got a message from headquarters. Yes, good sir, we do, Captain Billy says. And she, the captain, looks at her commanding officer. It seems to be, she says, it's a falcon, she says. And she holds out her leather gauntleted arm, and a large silver falcon bursts out of the sky, streaking like a ray of light through an early morning dawn. Pink touching the tips of the silver falcon's wings. It lands, still making that noise. An affectionate sound from a bird of prey, specifically a falcon. She holds up her gauntlet, and you see this majestic bird with its fluffed ruff, and within its grasp of its talon is a little rolled up piece of paper. I wonder who that could be from, Koi says, as he stands there, and he waits. I think we should wait to open it, whatever it is, until the rest of the team is up, he says. He decides.
Yeah, well, you two talking like that, I'm not going back to sleep anytime soon.
I don't think you will, says the captain. She looks at you, Aaron, who is sitting against the wall, and she says, well, it does seem to be that you might need to read this yourself, she says. It's a letter, and it's addressed to you, she says. And this one's addressed to what? This is very strange. One of our research colleagues wants to know what's up with the strangers who have come with you on your expedition, Koi, she says. And she hands you the letter, Aaron.
Yeah, great. All right.
The letter.
Stand up and take it.
Okay. The letter is written in a very, very messy scrawled script. And it looks like a 6 or 7-year-old wrote it. And it says, Dear Mr. Traveler, I know you're part of the Ark Society. I have been wanting to send letters to one of my people, or heroes, I should say, that I met. You kept our church from being rather decimated or destroyed in full by an evil slime monster. We are very excited to have you in our stories and annals throughout our histories. I very much look forward to meeting you one day. Signed, the Goose Kid.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was going to say, the bird kid just delivered a note by another bird. You'd think he'd get the point. I don't like birds, but all right, whatever.
But Koi gets kind of a wry grin on his face despite the circumstances. He doesn't seem to stare at Talon. Though his eyes grow wide and he says, Has anyone seen Yi Sang this morning?
No. Not particularly. I know she was working on the hunk of junk over there.
point, kind of goes back to his studies. And the captain kind of looks puzzled. What's gotten into him? Besides the fact that, well, you know, she says. She puts a hand on the hilt of her blade. Well, it seems we have some research to do, but would you like to explore the cave further corridors? She says. We do have a few other offshoots of this cave, she says. And I'm sure it would be most enlightening for you, since this will be home base for a while, if we so choose it to be, she says.
Maybe. I mean, probably need to make sure the rest of the bunch is ready to do their thing. He's looking around for a rock, finds one, tosses it at Talon. Hey, hunk of junk, wake up.
The rock just dinks off of his head, and his eyes kind of blink to life. He's kind of ending this motionless state that he, it seems like, he's in like an inactive, sleeping state. He kind of just blinks and slowly turns his head.
It seems he doesn't know how to talk anymore. How he says.
My vocal processors are adequate, though I do find them to be somewhat different. Perhaps it was the particles inside my vocal processor.
Yeah, you saying did something to you. You don't sound the same.
Whatever it is, hopefully it's for the best. Let's hope.
Where'd you saying go anyway?
I'm unsure of her location. My audio processor did not pick up any sense.
Well, maybe she's jumped into one of the caves without us then, huh?
Could be a possible combination, the captain says as she stares at the floor. There seems to be a strange sort of trapdoor within the floor of the cave that you're standing in. And she kind of looks at Talon a bit more, and she says, "Man, those vocal processes really did change," she says. "Intriguing, but also strange," she says. "I'm not as much, well, against you," she says, "as is my prince here," she says. "But he does have a point. We're not fully into trusting you yet. You, well, as he said, a hunk of junk," she says.
Yes. He would be foolish, as one might say, to be blind to my history, to your history. I would like to speak to him about this.
That might not be the best idea.
I was thinking the same thing.
Maybe you should let him cool off a little bit first.
Very well. My purpose remains the same.
What would that be?
You are now my companions. I must act as such. I do not have, myself, a loyalty. My symbiont is dead, and I carry no current allegiance. But the prince has given me this purpose, so I will carry it out.
How he expects him to betray the party. Not yet, but later on, when we need him most. Bam! But she'll keep it to herself for now. And try to make a point to be nice, so if he does have feelings, maybe he'll reconsider.
This is the case. You hear a strange trickling noise coming from the roof, and you see drops of long, fangled pieces of stone, like molten. It's not molten, but it looks like molten stone. It's just a gray, goopy sludge dripping from the roof. Oh, the captain says. Seems to be more of the rock hoppers, she says. They're a strange creature. Drop from the roof in the mornings when the sun's high on the warm rocks outside. Slither out there, take their sunshine, and do whatever they're food in tails for the day, and they come back here and hang upside down for the night, she says. Don't mind them, they're perfectly harmless. They're very strange, she says.
What are they called again?
Rock hoppers, she says. And this is the cave, by the way. And she smiles, and she says, well, here. She picks up one of them. They look like if you took bread dough before it's baked, but they have two like googly looking eyes, and that's what they look like. They're like slugs, but with eyes, like bigger eyes.
Okay,
That
that's
is a
kinda gross.
terrifying image.
So it's a snot.
Yes, yes, says the captain.
It's a snot with eyeballs.
Touch it.
Oh yeah, I'll touch it. One finger.
It feels like bread dough.
So gross.
It's goopy.
Super
And
gross.
the weird part is they all seem to drop right on top of Talon. And Talon, you're suddenly covered in these slimy little creatures that are slowly leaving their like slime trails on you as they slowly like ooze their way down the cave floor and you to go outside.
Talon just waits patiently as they very slowly slide off of him onto the cave floor, as he says, "Such defenseless creatures, fragile."
That's where the captain starts laughing her head off. You think they're defenseless, she says. Everything in this place wants to kill you. And she basically says, they would have taken us all in the night, but your sleeping gear is reinforced by the very aspects of, well, I should say, treatments to keep them away. They are attracted to warmth, she says. If too many of them crawl near you, they will basically smother you to death, she says.
You're correct. I base my references of power on my previous abilities. Many of my systems are still damaged. That being said, I do not require breath.
A point, says the captain. But first...
So wait a sec. So you're saying these little goobers will combine into a giant goober and then goober us to death?
Yes, she says rather casually.
That's absolutely disgusting and horrifying at the same time.
Well, just wait until you get them hopping, she says. With that, she flicks her blade, and the blade ignites with a kind of a blue fire on the edges. She sticks it near one of them, and suddenly the thing starts hopping around like a frog. It looks like a flying squirrel, but with no body, and it's just so it looks like a magic carpet sort of thing, but it's just like going flop, 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 like that.
Okay, this place is disturbing.
It's a rock hopper, she says casually. And with that, she flings the thing over the edge of the cliff. Don't worry, it will find its way back before nightfall. The strange thing about them. Must be hive mind or something, she says. And she says, well, One thing I would suggest is Coy did have some notes that he wanted to look into. You can take the big hunk of junk here, she says, and you two can go look for Yisang. I'm sure Coy probably gave her another task before she left. And she says, well, it seems to be that it might be a good idea. And she hands you some research notes of Coy's, and one of them is further research into Apex Yousta. Gildrin Yousta, she says. We found more parts. What was it? She calculates. Ah, yes, the dig teams last night, after you showed up. It seems this whole valley suddenly uncovered itself, or some earthquake that we felt shook the area, she says.
Okay, that's odd.
Well, don't you remember that one the other night, she says. The one with the bright light shooting up into the sky like a beacon.
Oh, okay. So that's what that was, maybe?
Possibly. We're not sure. That's what we're digging and trying to find out. But you three would be useful, wherever that might be. I will assign you to Chief Research Scientist for the Ark Society, she says. And in walks this woman with a white dress, an elegant bearing to her frame, and a large silver necklace around her neck. Give me a minute to expand the character token. There we go. She's holding a book in her hands, and she says, a pleasure to meet you all. I am head researcher Kyber, she says. And she bows to the captain bows to her. 4th degree order of scribes, she says. That's where I come from, is the capital. I was classmates here with the captain, she says. Nods her head. Well, shall we get started? Or do you have other matters to attend to this morning? She says.
Yeah, something to eat.
The researcher, Kyber, smiles at Talon and says, despite the fact of being, well, a researcher on a team with a prince who completely dislikes you, I find you utterly fascinating and incredibly useful. Would you mind making us some breakfast? She asks.
Yes, I will. And Talon will slowly clink away to the kitchen and start preparing some breakfast for everyone.
What is Talon cooking?
If they happen to have some eggs, he'll make some eggs in various different forms, scrambled, sunny side up.
Well, Aaron, you've got that box of eggs.
Yeah. So I'll see what he can do with those. I presume that there's some eggs in there.
Oh yeah. In fact, the chef not only sent eggs, but he sent like fresh meat and bacon and stuff, like big slabs of it from the kitchens of the castle.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so Talon will basically he'll accept orders and will make like an omelet with some chopped up breakfast sausage or bacon in it or something along those lines.
As you're doing so, the researcher seems to be taking a lot of notes about you. The captain has gone to guard Coy, and you guys notice that they seem to be whispering a lot in hushed tones, and he throws up his hands in frustration at some point in the camp. And he storms off to go do something. But the head researcher says, don't bother them. They're gonna be okay. It's just they seem to quarrel a lot for some reason. Nothing to be worried about, she says calmly. And she continues making notes on you and your cooking, Talon. But she also turns her interest towards Howie and Aaron. So, you dislike birds, she says. It seems to be a rather unfortunate coincidence then that most of the birds in this world are rather useful creatures, she says.
Yeah, well, they also seem to be extremely annoying.
Do
I
they
like
now?
birds. I like seeing birds, but they have they have a knack for getting on Aaron's nerves, which I find enjoyable sometimes.
I see.
Oh, I see how it is. Okay.
The
You can't
research
be bitter about everything.
the researcher smiles at the two of you, and she continues looking around until she is human, so she can't hear anything. But she seems to stand up at some point and says, "Well, that's strange. I completely forgot the key to that chamber the other day. Now, where did that go?" And she starts um, she's, as I said, wearing a white dress with like a adventuring belt and leather armor over top and stuff, as you can see here, with a cape and gauntlets on her wrists. But it's a short sleeve dress, so she kind of reaches around in her various belt pouches and her sheathed on her gauntlets. "I don't have the key to the cave," she says. "At least the research cave," she says. "Where could it have gone?" She starts moving around. "Have you two seen a key?" she says, looking at Aaron and Howie.
I'm gonna look at Howie because I have no idea.
Permission to do a history check.
Indeed.
All right, I'm about to roll it. Let's see what we get. It says 17 on my end, but I might have. Oh, it's not going into the virtual tabletop. I'm sorry, I'll
Yeah,
have to fix that, but it was a 17.
Okay.
yeah.
And are you rolling a history check to see if you remember her having the key?
Yes.
It seems she had it until she sat down.
Hmm.
To eat breakfast with you both.
Howie will go ahead and check the floor to see if a key fell down there.
Okay, give me investigation.
That was an 18.
You notice the rock hoppers are consuming the key. And it seems they eat metal.
That stupid rock hopper's eating the key. Howie will kick it.
It just feels like you're kicking wet sand. And
He'll stomp on it.
it just goes flat like a pancake. And as soon as you take your foot off of it, it's stuck to your boot.
Oh, this is just a nuisance, isn't it?
Well, kind of like the. It's weird. It is like bread dough. I
Can
don't
I
know if we're able to get the key out of it or not.
can I see the key still?
Yeah, it looks like acid melted it.
Oh, so it's off the key now. It's just stuck to her boot.
The key is stuck to her boot because she flattened the thing that was eating it.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna try to remove the key from the stupid blob.
You do, and as you do, you pull out like it's some sticky mess, and you see it, and it looks like the key front where it unlocks the door has been chewed straight through.
I don't know that this is still usable.
As you do so, though, you realize what this thing is. These things, these rock hoppers, which apparently eat metal, are what look like a baby form of a mimic. Because as you're talking, the thing that got stepped on, starts morphing into the sole of her boot, or the shape of her sole of her boot.
Oh, well, that's just disgusting. I'm gonna cast Produce Flame so I have a little fireball in my hand.
Think it'll bake up like loaf of bread or something?
Yeah, or it'll decide it doesn't like fire and get off your boot. That's what I'm hoping.
Sounds good.
I'm going I'm going to put the flame under Howie's boot and see if it does anything.
It turns into what looks like flames in imitation of what you see with Aaron trying to do that with Chowie's boot. It's just a bright burst of light, and then it goes like that, and bursts into like a big splatter of bread dough, like tan substance.
Okay. Plan B, take your boot off.
Howie takes off her boot.
All right, I'm gonna hurl this fireball at it.
Alright. And you hurl the fireball, and it bursts into flame, and you hear a beep, and it turns into smoke and ash.
Okay, well, at least we know how to get rid of the stupid things.
Yep.
If the key's real broken, you'd need magic or someone to make a new key.
Yeah, I'm not exactly good at making keys. Um, hey, Tin Man, you have a make keys accessory on that?
I bet he does. I bet he has some extra parts to repair it.
I am skilled in unlocking locks without keys. Perhaps one could be copied.
Yeah. So the problem with that is this key is not in a what's the word? Copyable state. Well, I mean, you could probably make a copy of it. I don't think it would do us very much good.
I meant a copy from the lock itself.
Oh,
It would be difficult, but an option.
Sounds like an idea. It'll have to work better than what I was thinking.
I'm going to roll an Arcana check just to see if uh Aaron would know something that I know.
I was thinking create water, except asking the DM if it could be ice. Such a stupid plan, but if we were that desperate.
Oh, to freeze the lock and break it? Almost?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that there's a spell called Mending, which would probably return it to its normal state, but I don't have that. I kind of doubt Howie has that. I know Talon doesn't have that.
I think he sang does.
He's saying probably does. The one that we don't have is the one that has mending, probably.
Yeah, that spell is really useful when you need it. That's for sure.
It's extremely not useful when you don't.
I've been in a few campaigns where that spell has really mattered.
Hmm. The one I was thinking of is knock.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good
yeah,
one.
that too. Although in fifth edition, it now like creates a sound so that you alert everybody to the fact that you just unlocked a door you weren't supposed to.
Yep.
Okay, I am back.
All right. I hear something like a fan in the background right now, though. Just a heads up.
That's weird. How about now?
Yes.
How about now?
Yes.
I think it's breathing again. I don't think it's a fan.
How about now?
Good.
Yep, it's good.
But Talon made the suggestion that he could potentially make a copy of the key from if he has access to the lock that the key is supposed to unlock.
Smart plan.
Yeah, do you think that's a possibility using thieves' tools?
Yes. So, the researcher looks around and says, "Oh, the key! This was not supposed to happen," she says, puts her hands on her hips and stares frustratedly at the key, which I'm sure is proffered to her in one of your hands. Well, if that's the case, we just need to do what we can. This is why Koi hired you, isn't it? You solve problems that we run into here, isn't it? She says.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have Tin Man take a look at the lock, wherever that is.
Where is this lock located?
The lock is located in the floor. The very floor right beneath our feet. This is the researcher. And she pulls up her like cape on her shoulders and she's like, "Okay, we've got to do this." She points to the floor, points to the lock, and says, "If one of you can make an imitation or some copy of the lock and build a key around this would be perfect," she says.
Yes, I do happen to have the skill set, which includes lockpicking and the like. And Talon will unhook this leathery pouch that he has, and it will open up to reveal all these different sized lockpicks, and he'll kind of look at the components in it, see that they're all like very old, and then look back to the researcher woman. If you happen to have any fresh wax, it would be needed for this process.
She hands you some sealing wax that she uses to seal letters that they send by the Silver Falcon. "Will that be enough?" she asks.
This will suffice. And he kneels down to get to work on the lock.
She nods. "Well, as he's doing it," she says, "the rest of you, this is what's down there. 1, a graveyard. 2, the memorial resting place of what we think is the remains of Koi's sister. And 3, she says, there have been signs of disturbance to the graves. Long claw marks, strange smells of death and odors that I have not smelled since I have been part of the team. I was a medical research assistant before this, she says, and now I am here detailing the remains of what is the Orosed ranks, she says.
I'm ready. Let's go.
So, you all climbed.
So, a bunch of dead things, a bunch of dead things, and a bunch of dead things. Sounds great. All right.
So, you descend the ladder down deep underneath this large cavern within the middle of the Siri Gulch cave, or the cave system, the cliff walls. And you find yourselves deep in this dimly lit cavern. Remember, this time period does not have electric lighting, so the only lights are going to be candles, and they reflect off the smooth red walls of the canyon that have been carved out into these tunnels that are beneath you in this like hatched trapdoor locked area. And she said,
And my little fireball that I'm holding.
okay, Janarin is, yes, your fireball and the candles, tons of them. If you have dark vision, you can probably see pretty well in this area. But for human like the researcher, it is kind of that she does need her candles to keep her sane and also keep her able to see in the dark.
Well, ain't nothing to it but to do it.
That's right. Let's get to work exploring.
You descend down, and okay, who is Aaron? You're rolling for producing flame. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to roll it. I just meant to link the spell, but yeah.
Yeah. The researcher looks around. That's odd. She says, this is getting stranger by the minute. There should be more than just these candles down here, she says. Who took the torches that are supposed to be here? Did Castava and the captain already come down here? We would have seen them leave if they had done so. We were standing right in front of the door, she says. So are things coming out of this at night? The rock hoppers would have detected them and probably dropped from the ceiling thinking they were warm creatures. There's a strangeness about this, she says. And she holds up this torch as her white cape billows around her. It reflects off her darker tan skin and her long, thick black hair that's done in a braid at the back. She looks around the room. Does anyone want to give me a way of investigating this place? She says. I might not have the dark vision your people do, she says, looking at Howie and Aaron.
Of course, I'll take a look. Howie rolled a 4.
Yeah, I rolled a 7. I'm not I'm not doing any better.
Should I also roll for perception?
Probably.
Okay. Not great. That's an 11.
You all descend the ladder, but you're so excited and so eager to check what's going on down, as the researcher was the one who went first to make sure she was able to make sure everything was in order before you came tumbling down. But you all come tumbling down the ladder together in a big, excited heap. And because you all fall down the ladder instead of fully investingly climb down the ladder, you all end up losing your sense of spatial awareness. And to you, having never been here, nothing is out of place.
Yeah, I didn't find anything. Yeah, maybe, the Autobot could check it out.
My sensors picked up no anomalies.
Well, maybe there are other Autobots that came by and moved the torches already.
Maybe Yi Thing came down here and stole them.
You don't think she would continue without us, do you?
I don't know. You're the one that's been paranoid about it for a while now.
You know, this is probably something she would consider doing. Let's just continue. We'll probably meet up with her.
The researcher kind of scowls for a minute. Wait, she says. There's a message written here. Does somebody want to investigate it for me? I'm busy recording the symbology of the message, she says.
Depends
Okay.
on the language.
This one in particular is a strange one, she says. It seems to be written in an old hand of Draconic, she says. Does anyone know any Draconic? She asks.
That's a negatory on mine.
I tried to learn it, but I really don't know it at all, sadly.
Draconic does not reside in my language processors either.
You stare at this stone, kind of tumbled, as if there's an old building buried beneath this part of the wall, as if it's carved in there. And there's this door at the edge, which the researcher, walks up to. Intriguing, she says. And she looks at it and studies it, holding the torch up to it. Stranger than fairy tales, she says. I've never seen anything like it. Here, bring that torch closer, she says to one of you.
Well, it's a fireball, but okay.
She nods. This is writing from over 400 years ago, she says. Writing which resides in only the language of the dragons. I do not understand this. I must copy this down, she says, and she scrolls it in her notebook. But as she does, she accidentally slips for a moment. Probably some raw copper slid off the wall again. She looks down. Oh, those dawn creatures, she says. She stamps on another one. And you hear beep! But as the case, she casts it off her boot. As she does so, something groans in the door. And you hear this click and whir of gears. Oh, she says. I don't know what that is. She hops backwards. As the door
Yeah, I'm gonna back up.
groans and starts to kind of shake on its hinges. It sounds like, has anyone ever taken a metal trash can and like slammed the lids together?
I've heard other people do it. It's a big cling.
Yes. There's a whir of gears and clicking and then a huge clang like that as the door slowly groans and slides to the side. It's pitch black on the other side.
Thank you for listening to Heroes of Aeowe. Dungeon Mastery by Anneli Defenif. Hallie Gulkus, played by Sanguine. Aaron Cloudspark, played by myself, Neuron. Talon, played by Tim Galvin.